So hey guys, what's up? So welcome to my news channel. So starting from the first news, United Kingdom Boris Johnson deeply disappointed for Brexit delay. Boris Johnson had vowed he would rather be dead in a ditch than tolerate another extension to the torturous Brexit process, which began in 2016 after a knife-edge public referendum. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson on Sunday apologized for not taking Britain out of the European Union by October 31st, saying he was deeply disappointed. It's a matter of deep regret, Johnson told Sky News before criticizing Donald Trump after the US president said the Prime Minister's deal stuck with the Brussels would prevent a future Britain-US trade agreement. I don't wish to cast any aspersion on the president, but in that respect, he's apparently in error, he said. Anybody who looks at our deal can see it is a great deal. It allows us to have full, unfettered control of our tariff schedule, Trump on Thursday told friend Nigel Farage, who will up against the Johnson in the December 12 election, that under certain aspect of the deal, you cannot do it, you cannot trade. Johnson had vowed he would rather be dead in a ditch than tolerate another extension to the torturous Brexit process, which began in 2016 after a knife-edge public referendum. On Sunday, he blamed Britain's failure to leave as scheduled on October 31st on Parliament Act, what he called the Surrender Act. This demanded that the government ask for and accept a delay from the European Union rather than living without the deal being ratified. MPs gave provisional support for his deal, but derailed Johnson's plan to get the bill through Parliament before the deadline, leading him to push for the December 12 vote to break the impasse. Whereas Brexit Party has called for a pact with Johnson's Conservatives to avoid splitting the Leave vote, but the Prime Minister once again ruled it out. I ruled out a pact with everybody because I don't think that is sensible, he said. What I can say respectively to the leaders of all parties is, alas, the only likely consequence of voting for them rather than for us as Conservatives is what you are making it more likely that you will thereby get Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn. So move to the next news. Thomas Cook, India not part of brand's global sale to China's Fosun. Thomas Cook, Indian chairman and managing director Madhavan Menon, further stated that the brand for the markets of India, Sri Lanka and Mauritius has been and continues to be protected for the exclusive use by the Thomson Cook India Limited (TSIL) until November 2024. Thomas Cook, managing director, reiterated that the sale of the company did not include the regions of the India, Sri Lanka and Mauritius. Travel services provider Thomas Cook India on Sunday said the sale of the company to China's Fosun does not include regions of the China, Sri Lanka and Mauritius. With regard to recent media reports pertaining to the sale of the Thomas Cook global brand to Fosun of China, it is imperative to clarify that the reported sale of the global Thomas Cook brand to Fosun of the China does not include the regions of India, Sri Lanka and Mauritius. Thomas Cook India chairman and managing director Madhavan Menon said in a statement, the brand for these markets has been and continues to be protected for inclusive use by Thomson Cook India Limited until November 2024 as per the brand license agreement entered into 2012 between Thomas Cook India's promoters Fairfax Financial Holdings and erstwhile Thomas Cook, he added. So move to the next news. There are solutions to Delhi's pollution crisis. Instead of paddy farmers to be as incentivized to move to millets. It feels like a war. The helpless farmers of Punjab and Haryana pitted against the angry, breathless uranities of the national capital region. The farmers are burning paddy stubble, contributing between a fifth to a third of the air pollution in Delhi these days. These have been pushed the air quality to unbelievable levels. It is endangering the lives and well-being of hundreds of thousands of people. It's also poisoning the farmers themselves. It's an ironic paddy needs water, but Punjab's water tables have fallen precipitously. To conserve water, farmers were asked to delay paddy sowing in time for the rains. At the other end of the paddy cycle, the new scheme left little time between the paddy harvest and the next sowing season. There is not enough time to pull out the stubble by hand, and for sowing the next crop on time is critical. I have met several women who have been plucking out stubble from the fields. They appreciate the stubble. It means adding to their nearly annual income. The stubble is mixed with greens as water in the winter. One of them told me that they were too few in number to replace the burning with plucking in such a short window of time. One might argue that in public interest it is worth using the Mondrake's instrument to ensure stubble is manually handled, not turned to chair. But that's an idea that requires a smart policy intervention based on the interstate coordination in a political ecosystem. During my discussions on stubble burning from several farmers, I have been surprised by their dismissal of the happy saver technology I was optimistic about. For financial and logistic and social reasons, the only sustainable way forward is to work with farmers to change what is planted. The best crop option is millets, as many as themselves point out. Apart from using very little water, millets are suited for the land and can be climate resilient. They are highly nutritious, but this would mean giving up the rice option. Back in Delhi, the demand is going for Punjab to control the farmers. The chief ministers, there is a little he can do unless states act against the farmers. Meanwhile, everyone's breathing poison air. The crisis requires no kinds of cooperation. Delhi can prevent its annual health catastrophe by creating markets for these nutrition millets. What if public Punjab and Haryana and including millets in their midday meals in school? Apart from the positive health outcomes for children, this could be also be fixed for an earlier polluting poultry floor. Delhi could also offer to work with Punjab to identify how much millet supply it can procure and consume next year, and pilot a downstream project in select schools. The lessons should be incorporated to scale up and feed children with meals more frequently. Punjab should do this too, but it should be also work with specific districts to grow millets and incentivize this change by granting prices in coordination with Delhi. It's time to go beyond that. The issue is a zero-sum game. So move to the next news. Climate change is real. There is a way for India to deal with it smartly. Headlines this week warn that much of the Mumbai and the suburbs could be underwater due to climate change. Related sea level rise by 2050 across India. 36 million people, equivalent to the population of the Telangana, currently live below the elevation of an annual average flood in the 2050. This is the latest in a string of the dire predictions, as an ICMOD assessment of the Hindu Kush suggests a 90% decline in glaciers throughout this century could place 86 million people in the river basin at risk of food and water insecurity. And in fact, 10 times that number indirectly. Not all studies or projections. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change finds that warming already experienced between 1981 and 2009 had reduced weightless by 5% emergent attribution. Science finds that a number of extreme weather events, floods, droughts, and heat waves South Asia are partially attributed to human-induced climate change. With exact outcomes of the future are hard to predict, but there is little doubt that climate change carries huge negative implications for India. While India has historical and justifiably focused on our immediate development concerns regarding poverty, providing jobs, and livelihood enhancing access to energy services, it's increasingly clear that climate is silent to development. There is no longer a pathway to development in the strength of climate change. The Indian policy conversation has to shift decisively from whether to address climate change or how to do so. But as part of the larger development challenge, the new collection of Western India's warming world brings together scholars, policymakers, and practitioners to explore the question. Only 5 important messages emerge. First, to recognize the interplay between the climate and development. It is useful to take a sector-by-sector approach and apply multiple stresses and multiple objective framework. Just for world climate change is an additional stressor that can exacerbate existing stresses of urban development, industrial pollution, water-intensive cropping, and land use change. And the objectives towards which must be managed and harness water are not just climate resilience but also fair distribution, ecosystem flows, and economic efficiency, among others. This approach helps maintain the balance between the development and climate while accounting for the complexity of sectoral challenges. Second, this approach can help identify clear areas where there are synergies and where trade-offs exist between development and climate objectives. An example of synergies include public transport, which promotes livable cities and reduces air pollution. Greater efficiency in energy and water also use addresses multiple objectives with no trade-offs. Focusing on adaptation in the vulnerable areas such as coastline also bring large payoffs. However, an example of trade-off is the shift to commercial cooking energy such as gas, which brings enormous development gains but may have climate downside. In such a case, development imperatives have to be paramount. Fortunately, they are clearly far off more instances of synergy than trade-off. Third, climate change provides an opening and an imperative to look beyond short-term partnering to longer-term strategic visions of India's development pathway. For example, the United Nations climate process requires India to produce a mid-century strategy. Given that we are locked into some warning, investigating in climate adaptation is paramount. But we can also use this process to reflect on the viability of our current development path that has resulted in toxic air and unsustainable waters, quite aside from climate impacts. It also allows us to explore opportunity to make our electricity sector and take the advantage of recent decline in renewable energy costs to build a competitive low-carbon economy. Climate change provides an opportunity to strategically reflect on both shortfalls and opportunities set a course correction. For these approaches require a high degree of analytical capacity, coordination, ability, and strategic intent in climate governance. India will have to do a better than thinly staffed climate cells in various ministries and departments. Emergent climate institutions need to be engaged more fully with researchers, develop coordination mechanism across departmental silos, transcend the separation across the national, state and local levels and create bodies, perhaps akin to a national security advisor board to chart a strategic course to understand climate and development in its complexity, make the right trade-off and be strategic. India requires improved governance and enhanced institutions. Finally, climate diplomacy remains important, but with a dual function. Historically, India has focused on ensuring equity in climate outcomes. This remains important, especially as pressure for mitigation action grows with evidence of the scale of the climate impacts. Particularly as deeply vulnerable country, India has to push vigorously for more and more effective global action on reducing emissions. India should strive to transform global climate politics in response to growing urgency rather than being content being a relative leader in a class of laggards. So if you like the channel, so kindly subscribe to it.